Hello, welcome to Weekend Wednesday, where we are going to whop ourselves wealthy, healthy, on purpose into action. I am Unstoppable Tracy, and this is week 4 of 4 on self-leadership. You know, each situation, each task, when it is new, there are different ways to manage yourself or manage others or manage your kids or your students or others in your life, the volunteers, your staff, whether you're a CEO or a mom of a family or a dad, supervising others, whoever you are, whatever you're doing, when there's a new task, like all of us right now find ourselves in COVID, and people are at different stages of readiness, of refueling, reinventing, refocusing, and finding their way, propelling forward. In week 1, we talked about those enthusiastic beginners. They are so motivated. They're reinventing themselves. They're making it work. You know, those folks don't need motivation. What they need is the knowledge and skills for the new competencies, like how to do a virtual webinar potentially, or how to use Skype to live on YouTube and Facebook simultaneously. Those kinds of skills, for example. Those enthusiastic beginners do not need raw motivation. Those are the enthusiastic beginners that need skill. In your family, with your kids, in figuring out how to self-entertain. The ones that are excited to figure it out on their own. Then we have disillusioned learner. And this is a whole bunch of us, right? Week 2 of 4 was disillusioned learner. You know, you jump in enthusiastic, I'm going to figure it out, I'm going to make it work. Yeah, I have down days, but I'm going to make it work. And then you do jump in and you find it's very tough on those down days, or it's really tough to figure out how to imagine going forward because there's layoffs, because technology was harder to learn than they thought. Don't know where to begin on to start a YouTube, or they're bored now. Okay, there's YouTube and there's lots of games to play if you're kids, but now you see them gaining weight and it's not as exciting and they really want a play date. They're like, when is this going to end? Or with your staff, you know, they're feeling for their peers that might have been laid off, or they themselves have got things going on with their family because everybody's 24/7 with each other. So those disillusioned learners. So now they're still learning. They still need skill development. They still need support with the new technology or the new ideas or the new ways. But now they also need the motivation. They need the support. They need the listening. And so that situation of a disillusioned learner is support and skill. And then week 3 of 4, we talked about the capable but cautious. You know, people started to embrace those online webinars or embrace the new way of playing and using House Party to connect with friends for their visits, if it's children, and found new ways as an organization to manage others, if a people manager or managing your staff or your volunteers or reaching out into a community. You learn how to do that by Zoom or Google Meetup or Skype, right? Whatever your tool is. And so people are starting to learn, but because they were so disillusioned before about what they didn't know, and their enthusiasm waned in the learning curve, that disillusioned learner, that now they're capable and now they can do it, but they're overly cautious. They're kind of like, well, maybe you should take on this virtual webinar. Maybe you should lead it one more week. And you're kind of like, no, you know what? You can do it. You can house that house party, home that house party. You can lead that webinar. You can do your own Facebook Live. You can reach out to the people in the community and your staff, right? They can do it, but they're just overly cautious now. So now they do not need skills. When they say, will you host it one more time, or will you do it, or I don't know if I can, this is the capable people that are cautious. What they need from you as a parent or as a supervisor or for yourself, when you find yourself saying, maybe you should do it one more time on my behalf. If you're self-managing yourself, self-leadership, You need to say, I can do it. And you need to give yourself some supportive coaching or support of others and say, you can do this. Notice you've already done a webinar, or notice you really know the facts, or notice you taught me how to do house party. Share with them the observational skills that they've got the competency. They've demonstrated the competency. So in situational self-leadership of self or others, enthusiastic beginner just needs skills. Disillusioned learner just need skills and motivation and support and listening. The capable but cautious, they need you to peel off the Band-Aid and encourage you to go ahead and go for it, even though they're scared. They've got the skills. So they need you to not, helicopter parent and not helicopter supervise, and encourage them to do it themselves. So now you've got this week the self-reliant high achievers. People that have demonstrated competencies, they know they've got it. And you find yourself focusing on people that are, overly confident, enthusiastic beginner, and they're making, frontline mistakes because they don't have the skills. So they need you to intervene with focus on the message, focus on the skill with those enthusiastic beginner. They need you to refocus their vision. You've got the self-reliant high achiever that's totally fine, but you're spending time supporting those that are disillusioned. Or you find you are supporting those that are capable and not sure whether they can do it. So all of your time is going to skill building or support for the other three kinds of staff and students and kids in your family or neighbors or friends or yourself even. But when you're self-reliant high achiever, they're kind of being left in the woods. They're kind of being left alone. But these folks are also in isolation. These folks have also had their world upside down. And just because they are demonstrating competency and demonstrating self-motivation doesn't mean that they don't need to hear from you. It's really important that you still, even though they don't need a lot of support and they don't need a lot of skills, they still need to know what vision or focus are you most important focusing on. They still need that guidance at that upper level. So they can be self-reliant, but where do you want the passion to go? They can be self-motivating and you're ignoring them, and that motivation will go away. So you need to say, thanks very much, good job, love what you're doing, keep it up. But in a sincere way, not in an artificial way. Give that positive feedback. Feed, nourish. Back is your back, your spine. And so you need to give positive feedback if they are self-reliant high achievers to know that they're still on the right track and still acknowledge them. Not lots of motivation, not smothering, not condescending. They got it. But even just the odd moment every now and then where you say, you got this, thank you. And notice them and don't completely ignore those self-reliant high achievers. And in yourself, when you are a self-reliant high achiever, give yourself a pat on the back to say, I got this, look at this. And notice when you are demonstrating competency and staying self-motivated. What is it that you're doing in those times of success that you want to bring forward in the future? So that is Situational Self-Leadership by Ken Blanchard. He inspired the theory of the 4 weeks together. And I've used Wozniak as a story throughout the 4 weeks. And so a self-reliant high achiever, Wozniak, who was the Apple co-founder with Steve Jobs. Steve Wozniak, he didn't graduate college. He had an airplane crash where he lost his memory with a head injury. And he had some disillusioned self-doubt. And then he's like super capable. He's a VP and he's doing really great things with calculators at HP, at Hewlett Packard. But now he's moving on to be a co-founder of Apple from his invention. And he was an enthusiastic beginner when he was in his own garage with his neighbor, naming his computer idea after the Apple soda pop. But now he is this self-reliant high achiever who never graduated initially and had a head injury initially in disillusionment. But now, he's got 4 patents. Double checking my facts. Yeah, 4 patents. He has 10 honorary degrees now as a self-reliant high achiever. But he too deserves to be acknowledged as Steve Wozniak, as the Woz, as the guy performing in the Apple world, right? We saw a breakdown. Him and Steve Jobs, there was tough. How many of you don't love your boss? right? And so ask yourself in these times, when you think back, who's your best boss? Who is your best parenting moment? What's your best parenting moment memory of yourself or your own parents? And what's the worst parenting moment of yourself? What's your worst boss memories? And what you'll find is your best boss and your best memories of leadership are when they match up. When you don't smother with too much motivation, or you don't provide too much direction or helicopter advice. When you hands off and say, you got this, you can do it, right? If it's capable and cautious. When the best of the best match up, you'll find that if it's self-reliant high achiever, there's just a little bit of you got this, and they're not smothering. And what each of the stages is when their skill needs and their motivation needs match up. Those are the best parenting, the best leadership times, is just matching whether they need skill or motivation. So self-assess and assess others. Are they an enthusiastic beginner? Are they a disillusioned learner? Are they capable but cautious? Or are they self-reliant high achiever? And choose your direction accordingly. Motivation if they need it, not if they don't. Skills if they need it, not if they don't. Careful of helicoptering and be sure to throw it back to them. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on this Weekend Wednesday with Unstoppable Tracy. Please be sure to like the page Unstoppable Tracy, as well as your group, as well as others in this field, and particularly with Wealthy, Healthy, on Purpose. Thanks for joining in. Take care, everybody.